Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. And wow, does it feel good to be back home in upstate New York. Before we get into today's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it definitely matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? Alright, so like I said, it feels good to be home in upstate New York. Rhode Island is very beautiful. It's very similar to where I live, actually. Fall is upon us, and there's a lot of leaf changing in that area. Crisp nights. Now, I had the time of my life. I experienced a lot at the Conjuring house. What tonight I want to talk to you guys about is some cryptid activity around that area. In the next couple of days, I've got some interviews lined up, and I will be putting together the Conjuring house exploration, which I will flat out tell you right now. It is one of the scariest places I've ever been. At the beginning of everything, it felt calm, it felt tranquil. But as the night progressed and as the witching hour fell upon us, it just got a lot more sinister. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're here to talk about some cryptid activity in that area. So I've got two experiences that were shared with me that I want to get into quickly. The first one was shared with me by the owner of the Conjuring house. So when we pulled into the Conjuring house, the property is very beautiful. You can almost get a sense of, as I was driving there, there's a lot of swamp and there's just forest. Even where I stayed about 20 minutes away in Smithfield, Rhode Island, there's a lot of swamp there. And we're talking a little mini kind of city, I guess. So as we're driving, and I'm saying we, my daughter and I, as we're driving into the area where the Conjuring house is located, I'm instantly floored at how rocky, how old the area is. And I'm like, wow, this is prime location for cryptid activity. So we get there, we unpack, put everything in the house, all of my ghost hunting equipment, and we get a tour. Now, at first, they have a sign like a waiver in case, anything attacks you out in the woods, if possession occurs in the house. And then they give you, Jacqueline gives you a history of the Conjuring house. And what I'm going to share with you guys in that video will absolutely blow your mind, because we have been lied to by other creators who have done Conjuring house tours. There's a lot that people will be blown away with. But anyway, different video. So she asks, about my content, and I tell her, I research cryptid activity at Dogman, Sasquatch, crawler, and paranormal. So she's like, "Wow, that's really cool." And I said, "Yeah, has there been?" Actually, I brought up the crawler experience that I shared a couple nights ago, and she had said that the neighbor across the street, down the road across the street, had said that one day he's out in his front yard, and across the street, it's kind of like a hill. So where the house is and where that property is, where the Conjuring house property is, it used to be 1,000 acres, and then when the Perrin family owned it, it went down to like 200, and now it's 8. So it kind of across the way is a hill. So this neighbor of Jocelyn's is in his front yard. He's got his dog with him. Dog's pretty decent, quiet dog. And all of a sudden the dog just starts to kind of freak out. And the guy kind of looks around like, what's going on? The dog's all bristled up. Hair is just standing straight up. Teeth are showing. Lips are curled. And it's like a growl bark. This is not a dog that acts like this. Even when strangers appear, like when someone knocks on the door, the dog normally doesn't act like this. So the guy is kind of put off. Well, he kind of looks and sees where the dog's barking and going nuts, and he kind of follows the direction of where the dog's eyes are going. And what he sees is a huge blackish brown figure. And the guy said, it's up on the hill. So it's a lot larger than he is, the distance. And the dog actually kind of goes up a little ways and is, ferociously barking, growling. Turns around at like on a snap, like pew, and goes back towards where the guy is standing in his driveway, and he's looking up, and the dog goes under the porch and kind of hides there and is, really slinking down. So the dog's now out of the picture, hiding under the guy's like kind of steps to his house. And the guy's like staring at this creature. He knows at this point that this is not a human. It's far too big. The shoulders are wider than what he'd expect, like the football player wide. And all of a sudden, this thing bends down and picks up a rock. Now he can see it pick something up, and the creature just launches this rock, and it, from where the creature's standing to where the guy is, we're talking, I don't know, a good distance, not maybe half a football field, about a half a football field. Sorry, my throat is kind of, with the seasonal change, I get allergies. But a half a football field. And this thing launches this rock. Now, the guy can't see how big the rock is, but it goes over these trees. And the guy said that, well, you can see the trees where this house is are 20 to 30 feet tall. The rock goes over the trees and lands behind the guy, 10, 20 feet behind him. The rock is the size of a basketball. The guy turns around and looks at the rock to see, what the heck he turns back, and just barely he can see this creature running up through the woods at a very high speed. Couple nights later, he hears this kind of very strange howling. The woman, the owner, Jacqueline, described the howling. She didn't hear it. This is what the guy, kind of like a serenade, like a very sad kind of howl. And that was the one experience that she had shared with me that was within the property. Probably back when the property was 1,000 acres, where that happened would have been the original owner's property. So, and the original owner back in colonial time, his name was Roger Williams, and a Dr. John Clark, who left Massachusetts Bay Colony. And Roger Williams was excommunicated from the Massachusetts Bay Colony for religious rights and taxation without representation, stuff like that. He's the founder of Rhode Island, and he is the person who owned this property. So yeah, where this activity occurred, this would have been on that original property where the house sits now. Now, the next experience I got, I embarrass my daughter a lot, and I don't do it purposely. I like to talk to people. I'm I guess outgoing. I'm a pretty friendly guy when I'm out and about. So the next experience I'm going to share with you is from it was a guy and a girl who I had saw at the gas station, probably 10 minutes down the road from the Conjuring house, and they told me this experience. So we stop at a golf station, which is probably 10 minutes away from where the house is. Now, it's very strange because this golf station's sitting here. There's like a hotel kind of bar across the way. And the road kind of splits at a Y. So the golf station sits on one side, the bar is on one side. So we stop and we're getting snacks, getting our drinks. And I'm talking to my daughter about the Conjuring house. And I'm like, are you excited? This, and that. And this guy, he's in his 20s. He hears me and he goes, oh, you guys are going to the Conjuring house. And I'm like, yeah. We're going to do an overnight ghost hunt. And he's like, oh, wow. He's like, that's crazy. He's like, do you have a YouTube channel? Or, I said, got a YouTube channel. And we started talking for a minute. At this point, my daughter's like back in the car. We're outside. And he takes my name down, subscribes to the channel. And I tell him, yeah, well, this is kind of, besides my house, this is pretty much the first ghost hunt kind of paranormal search or whatever that I've done. And, it's a big deal. And I say, and he goes, well, you got these subscribers. And I'm like, well, I talk about cryptids. And I say, like Dogman and Bigfoot and crawlers. And, he goes, crawlers. He goes, like the rake? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, the rake is a creepypasta, but yeah. And he goes, that's crazy. He goes, I've got an experience that happened to me and my girlfriend one night. and it happened on Round Top Road. And he said he had actually gotten out of the car because he thought it was a guy that was hurt. So the couple, they're in their 20s. They're driving down Round Top Road. This is probably, he said, about 5 minutes from the Conjuring house. They're driving towards where the Conjuring house would be. And he sees this bipedal, pale-looking humanoid. The girl freaks out, like, what is that? You know, like, who is that? They're not thinking that it's a cryptid. They think that this guy got, drunk, or, something bad had happened to him. So as they're coming up maybe 50 feet from him, or it, excuse me, they realize that this is not a human. The thing turns. It's getting to be dark, so it's dusk. They've got their lights on. The thing turns and looks at them. And both the guy and the girl said that the creature, it had no nose, but the eyes were like a jet black. And its mouth was huge and full of teeth. And I said, like, canine teeth, like, and he said, no, like, needles. And as the thing kind of dipped, it dropped down onto fours and ran into the woods. The guy pulls over and kind of was like, what? At first he said, we saw what we saw. He goes, I didn't ask my girlfriend at the time what she saw. He's like, I'm thinking maybe, my eyes were playing tricks on me. It's dark, that I just didn't get the face right. So he gets out, they kind of park, he gets out of the car and goes right up to the tree line. And he can hear it running through the woods. And so he kind of steps into the tree line just a little bit. He's, at this point, a little nervous now, because now it's kind of like, hey, what? That face was real. As he gets into the woods about 20 feet, he stops. The girlfriend's like, hey, are you okay? What are you doing? Come back. Let's go. I'm freaked out. And he hears a splash, which is Round Top Brook. And as he hears this splash, he hears this like shriek, like this high-pitched shriek. And then it goes dead silent, and he can hear it just plowing through the woods rapidly. Not at him, away from him. So he jogs back, gets out of the woods as quick as he can, gets to his car, and they take off. A couple days go by, and he's, tells his buddies about this. And so him and two of his buddies go out into the woods. They pull over to where they had stopped that night. The roads are kind of, you can see where he kind of pulled over. There's kind of like, outside of the white line. So if you're in your lane, outside of the white line is a lot of dirt and then the woods. So he kind of knew where he had pulled over, found the location, and they got out. And they walked out into the woods towards where the brook is. And as they get to the brook, they realize that the brook is, at this point, deep right there, probably 6 feet deep. And one of the guys goes, "Hey, what the heck is that? Is that what you saw?" The other guy that was with them, not the friend, not the guy who saw this thing, but the friend, he's like, "What are you looking at?" You know? And the guy goes, "I don't see anything." So the guy points and he's like, "Right there, right by this stump." Now the woods out there are just a very creepy set of woods. And it's a lot of debris, a lot of foliage. So they're trying, this guy can see, not the friend and not the guy who saw it, but the other friend is looking right at this thing, staring back at them. The other two can't make out anything. They hear the shrill again, this high-pitched shrill. And the guy that can see it said it disappeared behind a couple of trees. And then at that point, they can hear it. And it's actually going parallel with the stream, away from them, but not deeper into the woods, but away from them towards where the brook is, maybe almost to cut behind them. They just turn around and bolt back to their car, the guy's car, a Toyota. It was like a Toyota, it was a Tundra, I think, or something like that. And it's pretty cool. It's set up like, like a bug out truck. So they book it back to the bug out truck, and they hear that shriek, that just god awful kind of. He said it sounded like a demon coming out of hell. Like if a demon was born out of hell itself, is what he said. He said, "I've never heard an animal like that, ever." They get in the truck and they go. And I said, "Wow." So did you ever go back? Did you ever stop? And he kind of looks at me and he goes, "No, I've never." He goes, "I live probably 15 minutes from where I had my sighting. I purposely avoid going that way. If I have to go into Smithfield or wherever," he goes, "I go an opposite." He goes, "I go a different way than going down Round Top Road." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Round Top Road is where the Conjuring house is." And he said this was probably 5 to 7 minutes from where the Conjuring house was, in the opposite direction of where this guy saw his Bigfoot sighting. This is also where that other kind of crawler sighting happened that I shared with you guys a couple days ago before I went out there. So this is the couple of cryptid experiences that I was able to get just talking to people. I wish I had talked to more people, and I wish I had really kind of really planned everything a lot better. Instead, it wasn't last minute, but I was very excited. My daughter was excited. I was excited. And there was a lot that I wish I had done different. That knowing now, I will do different. So I'm planning on going back. I'm going to be going to, in October, I'm going to be going to a Paracon at the Mohican Sun, hosted by Judy Warren, who is Ed and Lorraine Warren's daughter, and to the Call Museum that Ed and Lorraine owned. That's going to be at the end of October. next year, I'm shooting for springtime, maybe right before summer. I want to go to the Lizzie Borden house. And if I go to the Lizzie Borden house, that's an hour away from the Conjuring house, I might hit both at the same time. Because like I said, there's a lot that I wanted to do, and because I was so excited, I didn't get a chance to. My brain kind of just shut down, and I was like a kid in a candy store when I was at the Conjuring house. I will tell you that much, until things got really crazy. So that is tonight's second half. I want to thank everyone for all your support. And with that, may the Great Spirit watch over us all. May He guide us down that path that we call life.